So I want to know what all of your guys' thoughts are on Disney opening, quote, immersive lands in phases, because it's totally understandable for Disney to want to make these huge immersive lands like Galaxy's Edge, or, you know, like Marvel Land, or even like Pandora. But in my opinion, opening a Marvel land that's supposed to be on par thematically, I guess immersively would be a better word, with Galaxy's Edge in phases would be kind of, it's not, I don't know, it just sounds really strange to me. Because of course, Galaxy's Edge is not going to be opening in phases. The whole land is going to be open at once. Pandora was the same way. So I want to know what all of your guys' thoughts are on Disney opening these lands in phases, sort of incomplete lands, I guess. Disney opening an incomplete land, and sort of, I guess, sort of like the way they did with Pixar Pier, even though it's not technically a new land, but they did open Pixar Pier, charge people $300 to get early access to it, even though a lot of it, like 50% of the land, isn't even finished yet. The Inside Out attraction isn't there, the Jesse's Critter Carousel isn't there still, and even just up until recently, the Luxo lamp, whatever, was not on the entrance to Pixar Pier, and I don't even think it has like a bag over its head. I don't even think they took the bag off of its head. So, yeah, it's just kind of weird.
You know
to
what
me.
I think?
Yes.
I think that them opening this land in phases is actually reflective of their what's the word here? They're no, I can't think of the word, so I'm gonna have to use layman's terms. I think that it just shows that they're not fully in on this project. They don't know if it's going to be popular. I'm not going to say successful necessarily, but popular. You know, I think that they're just a little bit, they're cautious, I think. And so it's like, if they release the first phase and it doesn't do so well, then they don't have to, you know, front the money for the second phase. Whereas if they did it all at once, the next thing you know, it just didn't end up being that popular, you know, then they wouldn't have to worry about it. I mean, remember when we had what was it? There was that meet and greet in the Innovations building with the Marvel characters.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was mildly popular, but it wasn't like insanely busy like Disney thought it would be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then even then, like, I've been like looking at, you know, how popular the what's the thing that they got? Oh gosh, the Star Wars themed one that they have there.
Yeah.
And there's like, that place is like almost dead. So I don't know. I think that I don't think there might be very much interest in a Marvel themed land.
That's I don't know. It's interesting to me because Marvel is like the biggest thing in the world right now. I mean, Avengers Infinity War opened to like, I don't even know how much money it made. I think it was like almost $1 billion, $2 billion, whatever, how much money it made. And like I was saying, I feel like if Disney really wanted this land to work, they could make it work. Same with Star Wars Land. Star Wars Land might not be that great, but Marvel, in my opinion, is a bigger property than Star Wars, a more popular property. I guess a property more people relate to. This is just all, in my opinion, based off all my experiences. But I feel like Disney shouldn't cheap out when it comes to a Marvel land, because a lot of people do love these movies. I mean, like Black Panther, I believe, made almost $2 billion as well. It's just so interesting to think that Marvel, of all properties, I mean, Pixar I understand, but Disney not having faith in like a Marvel land is just really mind blowing to me,
Well,
because
but think about it this way. You could have, the most popular franchise in Hollywood, but, you know, can it really apply to a theme park? I mean, look at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. At least what you can do when you build it in a theme park is create this huge immersive world, right?
mm,
What can you do with Marvel? I mean, all the characters are existing in a perfectly normal society.
mm,
You know what I mean? Like, what kind of immersion can you create? What kind of environment can you create that doesn't look anything less than just you walking through city streets?
mm,
You know, like, I mean, and think about the outside of the Spider-Man attraction. What would that look like? I mean, what do
yeah,
you expect it to look like? I mean, it's not like, like when you see the outside of Star Tours, at Hollywood Studios, you see this big AT-AT Walker and the Endor Forest and stuff like that. I don't even know if that's still there, so I might be wrong on that one. Um, but it was like this huge immersive exterior of the attraction. I mean, you looked at it and you go, that's Spider-Man. That's no, I'm sorry, not Spider-Man. That's Star Wars. But what are they going to build on the outside of this ride
mm,
besides a giant, like 90-foot tall poster of Spider-Man?
yeah,
You know,
mm,
for you to go, wow, that looks great. Like so. I wouldn't put it past Disney for for this land to end up looking like some kind of futuristic New York City with a few Marvel characters scattered around. I don't think it's gonna be this big immersive world.
mm. You got a point. You really do. I didn't think of it that way. But I just want to say one more thing. If that is the case, why not just reskin Hollywood Land? Why tear down Bugs Land to build Marvel Land if they can literally just reskin, I mean, like you were saying, Hollywood Land is just like a New York street. They can just, gut the animation building or something and put in the Spider-Man right there. I don't understand why they would have to tear down an entire land to just build something similar to what's right next to it. It just doesn't really make any sense to me. But Jeremy, what are your thoughts on everything?
um, I have a couple thoughts. If I had to guess why they were releasing or building this land in phases as opposed to Galaxy's Edge, I think or Pandora. I think it's because Pandora and Galaxy's Edge were they are and were ambitious projects.
Mm,
And they might have learned a lot of lessons from opening and designing those lands, and they want to take this one slowly. That would be my only guess. Um, However, I want to point out a historical point, which I think is very important. I don't know why people have been very upset that they're going to release this in phases, and this is something that Disney has done since for a long time. The Magic Kingdom's Tomorrowland
yeah.
in Disney World was released in phases that took almost half of the decade for the land to become fully realized. More than that, almost the whole decade. Epcot Center was released in phases. There were many attractions that were not open and pavilions that were not open that were intended to be open on opening day, but were actually then released in phases. Horizons, the Living Seas, Imagination. Those were all planned as opening day pavilions, but were either pushed into different phases the following year. Living Seas, of course, took till 86. And the park opened in 82. So this is not the first time Disney's done something in phases. It's usually because they want to get something right. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt on this one for that.
Okay.
So we'll see. I think it has to do with, the past two major projects have been huge in scale, and I think they want to take this one slower.
Okay.
No.
Well, I mean, I listen. I don't like Marvel. I don't like that this land is coming in here. But I think they've always been doing. They've always released lands in phases of the past 40 years. And we
Okay.
don't, we don't speak ill of the original Epcot. I don't.
Yeah. I agree. I did forget to bring up that Tomorrowland. I think we even have that in our Space Mountain video that the Tomorrowland and the Magic Kingdom opened in phases. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting to me that Disney is doing this to a property as big as Marvel. I just wish that, I don't know, maybe some of like the creative heads from Marvel would, or maybe they are, I don't know. Maybe like, if Kevin Feige would step in
I
and
I have a rebuttal for Jeremy there.
ooh, okay.
Okay, so Jeremy, I want you off the top of your head to list off to me uh, the most major projects that Disney did in the past where they had to do it in phases. And on each one, I will tell you why they did it in phases.
Ooh.
Well, let's start with Epcot. And
Okay. Epcot was done in phases because it was the largest theme park at the time that Disney ever built. It required leveling a lot of land and uh, re reclaiming land from the existing swamps, which meant pulling in a lot of dirt and soil and even reinforcing the ground with concrete in order to make it walkable and to support the buildings that they were building there. And then, of course, Spaceship Earth being at the time the most expensive attraction ever built at Walt Disney World because of it. First of all, the sheer engineering that they had to do, and then of course the design and building the interiors and things like that, and then so basically, Epcot being the biggest theme park at the time, created by a company that at the time was used to building, like one small thing at a time when it came to investments and stuff like that. The company wasn't nearly as big as it is today as it was back then. Or, I mean, as it is not nearly as big back then as it is today, is what I mean.
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, that's fine. I think they have their reasons for opening up in phases. I'm merely responding to the nature of opening something in phases in general. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm sure they have their reasons, and it might be technical reasons. I think it's more. I agree with you. I think it's more marketing reasons, but I don't think there's anything like I don't think there's any crime being committed by kind of opening a land in phases when they don't really know what it is yet. I don't see what's wrong with that. Now, do I see what's wrong with the land in general? Yes, and we're both going to agree on that. But I don't think there's anything wrong with opening the land in phases when there might be a lot of other challenges that they're facing with a lot of the larger scale attractions that possibly might go into the land.
Okay. Well, we all make some really great points. Mateo says Epcot and Walt Disney World Tomorrowland makes sense. With Epcot, they were running behind schedule and they wanted to open on the date they announced. With Tomorrowland, it was because they wanted to keep the attractions open as long as possible. And then he said before, Marvel Land is probably the most confusing choice Disney has made in years. Yeah, I don't know. It's very, I don't know. I don't know. It's very interesting. We'll see how this all pans out. I'm excited. I guess the one last thing I have to say about this is, I think I said this the last time we talked about these rumors. I don't really see how Mission Breakout is gonna fit into a college campus themed to the Avengers. If it's supposed to be like the Collector's Fortress or his warehouse or whatever.
That's because the overall theming and background or whatever of the land is it's almost like an afterthought. Oh, we have to kind of make it work to fit into this. It wasn't the initial thought in putting it in the first place. That's a big problem that the company has nowadays, or Imagineering has when they make new things, is they come up with some weird explanation as to why it actually works.
Yeah.
And they put it into some really complex backstory, which nobody can follow. So that's what it is. I mean, they're not thinking that through.
I want to know if they had different plans when they originally opened Mission Breakout for Marvel Land. If it was like themed to like an alien world. I don't know. It's just sort of interesting to think about because it doesn't fit into
I don't think that they did. I think they just wanted to do that because it was trending. I don't think they but maybe you're right. Maybe they were planning it for a different land entirely.
Very interesting. I don't know about you guys, but this is just really interesting. I hope it all goes well. That's what my closing thoughts. I hope Marvel Land. Hey there, Mountaineers. Hope you enjoyed this short excerpt from the recent podcast, and if you did, be sure to check out the full episode. The link will be in the description.